everyone. It's time for our next story, and today's story is called On's Anger. And keeping with our theme of mindfulness, today we're going to explore what do we do during those times when we feel angry or frustrated, and how do we cope with those feelings. So this story is written by Gail Silver and illustrated by Christiane Kromer. On's Anger. On was in the living room building a tower, the tallest tower he had ever built. His grandfather was in the kitchen making dinner. On, grandfather called out, "Dinner is ready." On added a yellow block and smiled. The tower was almost as tall as he was. "Now the red one," On whispered, placing a red block on the very top. Grandfather came in from the kitchen. "What a wonderful tower." "It's not done yet," On told him. "Come sit down," Grandfather said. "You can play more after we eat." He set the plates on the table and returned to On, who was balancing a green block on top of the red one. "Put your blocks down now," said Grandfather. "Dinner is getting cold." I know we all know that feeling when we're in the middle of a game or something we're doing and we don't want to stop when we're being called to come to the dinner table. Uh-oh. On wanted to keep playing. He opened his mouth to speak, but his bottom lip quivered and the words wouldn't come. On's eyes filled with tears and he started to cry. Grandfather tried to put his arm around On, but On pushed him away, knocking the tower over and sending the blocks flying. "Go away! I hate you!" On shouted. "You are upset," said Grandfather. "Please go to your room and sit with your anger. I will come in when you're calm and able to talk." Those are some pretty strong words that On shouted. Do you think he really meant them? I bet he didn't, but sometimes when we're angry, we say things we regret. On ran to his room and leapt onto his bed. His cries grew so strong he could feel them all the way down into his belly. "How do I sit with my anger?" he wondered. "I'm so angry, angry, angry." "Finally," said a voice. "I was hoping you would notice me." On lifted his head and came face to face with a hairy red creature. My goodness. "Who are you?" asked On. "And how did you get into my room?" "I am your anger," said the creature. "You brought me here." "My anger?" The anger nodded. "Did Grandfather tell you to come in? I'm not supposed to talk to strangers." "Don't worry, On. I'm not a stranger. I'm the part of you that comes out when things don't go your way. I'm right here every time you get angry. I know you feel scared when I'm around. I can make you cry and want to hit things. I can even make you say mean things to the people you love." On's anger started to turn the knob of the bedroom door. "Come on," he said. "I'll show you." On was tempted, but Grandfather had said to stay in the room. "Wait," On called. "Maybe we can do something in here." On's anger turned and extended his hairy hand. "I know just the thing," he said. On took his anger's hand, and together they danced all around the room. They raised their arms overhead and they spun in wide circles. They used their breath to make sounds like a strong howling wind. They got down on their knees and pounded the ground with their hands. It sounded like they were playing drums on the earth, and On liked that. Finally, they were exhausted and ready to be still. On and his anger sat together silently. They sat, they breathed in, and they breathed out. And they sat some more. Is he sitting with his anger? I don't like to say mean things to people, said On, but sometimes I can't help it. I can help you, said his anger. How can you help? I thought you were the one who was making me do those things in the first place. That's true, but I'm also your friend. Whenever you feel angry, you should come sit with me. After we spend some time together, you might feel better. Spending time with you is kind of fun, said On. Do you want to stay for dinner? I think I'll be gone before dinner, said his anger. Are you sure? Asked On. We're having ice cream for dessert. On's anger smiled, and On smiled back. Smiling doesn't sound like anger. I think his feelings might be changing. On was tired. He took a deep breath and let out a little sigh. And when he did, his anger became smaller. And On and his anger continued to breathe together. With each in-breath, On's anger got a little bit smaller. And with each out-breath, On felt a little bit better. On heard a gentle tapping on his bedroom door. It was Grandfather. Grandfather and On sat together. I'm sorry I didn't listen, said On. I was really angry. I wanted to keep playing. Grandfather took On in his arms. Thank you for your kind words, he said. It's really important to say we're sorry when we say things we don't mean, isn't it? I sat with my anger like you asked, On said, but we didn't just sit. We danced and we played too. Do you want to meet him? On looked up, but his anger was gone. Grandfather, said On, do you know what happened? I think I do, said Grandfather. You took good care of your anger and it went away. That's right, said On. How did you know? When I was a little boy, I met with my anger too. Really? Was it because of blocks? No, laughed Grandfather. There were no blocks, just frogs, a lily pond, and a sun that wouldn't set. Come, let's eat dinner and I will tell you a story. And there they are having dinner together. And that's the end of our story. On's anger. So today, for you, our activity is a little different. And I think it's really important to acknowledge when we feel angry, when we feel happy, when we feel sad. All of those feelings are good, real feelings. But I was thinking that when you do feel angry, it might be good to go and sit with your anger. And I thought the way that the illustrator showed what anger looked like was so interesting and unique. I thought we might have some fun making our own anger. So I have 3 possible choices for you if you're feeling a little creative. Depending on what you have in your house, you might choose to draw your anger with crayons like I did here. And I used this anger in the story as inspiration, and then I just changed a little bit. But I thought he might have messy hair and zigzaggy mouth and angry eyebrows and his fiery red tongue, and none of him is smooth. He's wiggly all over because angry is kind of a prickly emotion. So that's one choice that you might want to do if you've got some crayons at home. But maybe if you're like me and you look around your house, I decided to try one version of my anger using some tissue paper that I found in the box where the gift wrapping is. And then I drew with crayon. And because crayon is kind of waxy, I did a crayon resist painting with watercolor. So I got out my watercolor paints and I painted over. And anywhere where I had crayon, the paint did not stick. So I can still see the colors, but I changed the color of his skin using my watercolor paints. So that is my anger version number 2. And then finally, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to make a toilet paper roll anger? Grrr. That might be really fun to sit in my room with. And I made them look all messy, but I just used things I had around the house. I had some grass from Easter and tissue paper from wrapping paper, and I just used a toilet paper roll, and I colored on some paper and cut it out and glued them onto a circle for his face. So there are different ways you might want to make your anger, but it would be good when you're feeling anger to go and sit with your anger. And maybe he'll help you to pass the time while you're breathing in and out, while you're stomping your feet, while you're banging your hands, and dancing around your room and getting rid of that anger and letting it pass by you and let the sun come out again and with happy feelings. So I hope you enjoyed the story On's Anger, and I hope you have some fun making your own On's Anger, except now it'll be your anger. Have some fun, do some arts and crafts. That's good when you're feeling kind of cooped up in the house as well, a little art therapy. So enjoy.